Hey guys, we've got our Stanley Cup champions. The Vegas Golden Knights defeat the Florida Panthers in Game 5. 4-1 series win. I don't know what to say. I was hoping for such a tighter series, especially with everything that Florida has thrown at us throughout this Stanley Cup playoffs. However, it just didn't go their way. They ran out of gas and yeah, they gave us a decent game three and game four. Winning game three in OT and almost leveling game four at the death there, but ultimately losing 3-2. However, game one, first two periods was really tight. It actually showed a lot of promise. And although gave up two goals in the third and then an empty net to make it 5-2, you had that inkling of, okay, well, it's been a pretty tight game. Vegas got a little bit on top in that third, but this should be a good series, and it just didn't sort of pan out that way, unfortunately. Maybe had Florida, leveled that game four and snuck away with that game four victory to make it 2-2, maybe we would have had a different story and been talking about something different here. But ultimately, Vegas too strong. And what a way to close out a series. 9-3 in game five to win the Stanley Cup in front of your home fans. I mean, oh, I know for fans, we really wanted, like especially neutral fans, we really wanted like a real tight affair, a one goal game, maybe an overtime to decide the Stanley Cup. But yeah, to put on that sort of show in the final game is just phenomenal. Um, but yeah, look, credit to Vegas, absolutely well deserved. They had a phenomenal season. And their fans have waited a long, long time for this. There's
Yeah, I
still
think I
some of
think they
their
waited
fans
as
that
long
haven't
as
been.
Toronto, maybe even longer.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
was probably one of the longest Stanley Cup droughts in history. But no, and all jokes aside, Jonathan Marchessault with the Conn Smythe as well, absolutely well deserved. I mean, Jack Eichel and Aiden Hill probably honourable mentions as well, but yeah, ultimately he was probably as clutch for Vegas as Matthew Tkachuk was for Florida. You probably had two of the better game-winning goal players on either side going up against each other in this series. But I'll let you take it away for a bit there, Jade.
Yeah, it's interesting. Where do you start? Like, obviously, we're doing this video a bit late, but it's just where do you start? So you had the number one in like the West versus the wild card two in the East. Florida's path to this point was pretty brutal. We went over it before we recorded that they went through one, two, four, and five um, in the standings to get here, being Vegas being number five. And then Vegas had a pretty easy run, all things considered. I think it was like 6, 8, 14, and wherever Florida was as well. So,
17th.
yeah, 17th. So, yeah, pretty brutal. The difference on the east to the west and how the pathways to get here, and I feel like that's a big thing on the structure. In regards to the games, game one was very good. Good to watch. It was nice and tight, and until the third period, as you said. Game two, uh, you know, it was game two. Game three, brilliant again. Game four had an amazing ending. Almost going to OT with Kachuk, obviously playing with those injuries, and he's still playing as the best player on their team and trying to carry him through.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. And then just game five, obviously Kachuk misses it because of his injuries, broken sternum. And obviously, as we know, other Florida players had other injuries, like Ed Blad with his, I think it was a broken ankle, or broken foot, whatever you want to call it. And then, what was the other player? Was it Verhage that also had injury? I think basically the whole team. You could probably put up the whole team. They had injuries.
Yeah, I mean most teams in Stanley Cup by this stage are playing,
Yeah, but the way
with some
Florida
sort of niggle.
play, it was almost guaranteed that they're going to get these injuries because they play
Yeah,
so hard and rough.
yeah,
Whereas Vegas don't play that hard and rough, and I don't think they obviously earned the injuries that Florida did. But yeah, the game five, big blowout. Um, there were really not much to say in regards to that. I don't know if you have two clean teams in regards to injuries coming into this, if it changes, because I think Vegas did play an amazing series, an amazing style. I think it was almost unbeatable at the point. I think they hit their peak at the right time, but it has to be said that they had an easier run into the playoff, into the cup final to get there. But
Yeah.
where do you start? You got Jack Eichel, gets a cup before McDavid. Marchessault gets the Conn Smythe. Aiden Hill basically carrying the team through the playoffs. Absolutely amazing story in his own. Kachuk on the other side carrying his team like there's no tomorrow. You got Bobrovsky basically doing Jonathan Quick 2012. Just didn't have the team in front of him at the end there to pull it off defensively. But yeah, you look at Florida, they scored at least 2 goals every game. So they didn't have really scoring problems. It was just the defensive side of things that I think they started lacking in.
Yeah, I think it just all sort of come undone with Bobrovsky. I think, he played absolutely phenomenal. I think most Florida fans would be hoping that if that's the sort of thing he can do, from now on, like, is this the resurgence of Bob? I know Florida fans would be bloody hoping so because he took a long time to really earn that $10 million contract. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, Vegas. One thing I did notice throughout most of the series is Vegas just knew how to hold a lead. Once they got in front, they just knew how to hold that lead. Um, and they played a really sensible style of game where they weren't giving up too many high danger opportunities. They weren't really risking anything ultimately. Like, it was always, anything they did, they thought about it. They worked their way through it really, really well. And they avoided giving up any big opportunities to be like, oh, well, yeah, of course we conceded that. It was always, you had to earn your goals. I know you said Florida scored, at least 2 goals a game, but literally they scored 2 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals, 3 goals. They're not conceding they're not getting blown out where they're just leaking goals like 5 or 6. It was
Mm.
always just a handful. So 2 or 3. So yeah, I just think Vegas were playing a very sensible style where to score against them, you really had to grit and earn that goal. Whereas in Florida, which they had been doing in series previously, just lost their way on that a little bit, and ultimately it was their downfall.
Yeah. One thing on the Bobrovsky thing, I'm pretty sure Spencer Knight is looking like he will play next season. Don't know if he will start the season, but they said he should be back in the fall. Um, so early on in the season at least. So at least they have that to look forward to too. Because I know
Mm.
if in case Bobrovsky does not repeat this, which as a Florida fan you're definitely hoping for. Yeah, look, hats off to Vegas. They kind of changed the meta in a sense that I think a lot of teams kind of need to look at. Obviously don't like how they've treated some players in the past, but the management, the owners, and everything have always had a plan of like, in the first 5 6 years, we're going for it. We're going for it.
Hmm.
And you don't see that from any team anymore. They try and build up slowly, and then you get a team that can make playoffs, and then you just try and hope that they can make that run. Um, and so I feel like Vegas kind of flipped the coin there and into a new sort of meta, you could say, on how to win a cup, um, which is good to see instead of the slow rebuilds and whatnot. But with that said, with how they've done things in the past and where they're at now, can they keep, do a tamper and do stay like this for, 2 to 5 more years? You know what I mean? Or do they just drop off the bandwagon? Um, I know Aiden Hill played really good, but I don't know if I fully trust him to run out my whole entire season. Um, next year. So that's my one concern. I know Hellebuck would be on the thing, so would you as Vegas? I don't know. If they don't wouldn't even have cap for it, but Vegas do cap
Yeah,
things.
I
So
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, again, another big talking point was, obviously being significantly over the cap space and Mark Stone conveniently being fit and ready to go. Um, but those are the rules, right? Like the rules are there, and they didn't break any rules. Um, so it's just something if the NHL wants to stop this happening, seeing as it's happened a few times now. Um, maybe they need to look into it.
yeah,
But
well,
it also
yeah,
it's one of those things like, yep, we don't like seeing it, all the rest of it, but it's done and dusted. And the other thing is that what we're going to see now is they're going to have to drop some players because playoffs are over. You are over the cap now, so for the new year, you're going to have to trade out players.
mm,
So they are going to have a reshuffle. You're right in the sense of with their goalie situation, they've got pretty much all UFAs except for Logan Thompson, um, who, can he stand up? Will they re-sign Aiden Hill or will he go elsewhere? What does all of that look like? And yeah, like, can they afford to get in a goaltender
mm,
if those two don't work out? So look, hey, anyone takes, and I guarantee you, any fan in the NHL will take one Stanley Cup over none. Um, but I dare say with the team they've got, they would be hoping they can at least push and attempt for another one over the next either 2 or 3 years. But yeah, I definitely think Vegas management have their work cut out for them to see what they can do in terms of locking up a few of these players and sorting out this goalie situation.
yeah. Just a couple of other points, just to go on here. Phil Kessel gets to hold the cup again, um, which was
Yeah.
fun to see. Uh,
What a
I, I
legend.
I love
What an
that.
absolute legend.
I love that.
Yeah.
Um, quick, quick gets another one, in a sense. So yeah. I just love it. But moving on from that, what was I going to say? I've just gone blank on my side. I was going to bring up just the next year in regards to how they will manage the what do you call it, long-term injury. Like you look
Mhm.
at other sports and how they handle it. There's no basically no transparency with injuries in the NHL. They say
Yeah.
upper body or lower body, and that's like 50% of your body, up, down. Could be something crucial like your wrist, which is
Yep.
very needed in hockey, or it could just be just a little like a little niggle in the side
Mm.
or something like that. And I think compared to other sports, like I know in AFL down here, they have medical teams have go through that person, get the injury, they display it to everyone, so everyone is aware of the injury, which is better for other teams when they are doing trades and recruitment and whatnot. And it also just gives transparency to everyone, including the league, on what injury that person has, and how to manage that. If you're getting like 100 concussions in this league, you almost wouldn't know because they would just say upper body injury. And
Mm.
and if you're going to get 100 concussions, you'd be like, hey, we've got a problem in our game we need to address, and they can't do that at the moment. So that's what I just wanted to bring up, because you see all these injuries that happen in the playoffs. Clearly, it's because of the lack of blowing the whistle in the playoffs. It's been said time and time again. It's not right, but they do it for some reason, and I feel like that is the cause of the injuries. But they would never know that because they don't do the investigations for it and get the in-depth analysis from doctors on injuries.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's almost like there's one set of rules for the regular season, one set of rules for the playoffs. Which I get it. They want a more physical game in the playoffs, but it does get quite frustrating when something you've seen all season be a penalty all of a sudden is just normal practice.
Mm. Well, I,
Um,
I think you could
and
point
yeah,
out to half on each team that they could have probably been suspended for the Stanley Cup final in some sort of
yeah,
action, somewhere throughout. the playoffs, I reckon you could probably look at half the team on each side and go, yeah, they probably should have been suspended at some point. I know a couple like
Oh,
the
Jordan Eberle at the start. Like,
yeah, yeah. But like the Vegas defender that basically tried to destroy Draisaitl. I think he only got a game. Um,
Petrangelo.
yeah,
Yeah,
Petrangelo. Sorry. Yeah, like to me that's like you lose 50% of the season because intent to injure, but then he gets to keep on playing and playing the Stanley Cup final. But that's just my little niggly worry about how the NHL is handling it at the moment. But
for
with that
sure.
said, well done Vegas. Bad luck to Florida. At least we have a new Stanley Cup winner, so it's no Tampa again. And
That was the nice thing about it is it was
yeah,
going to be someone who hadn't lifted it for so long. I think even after the first round, it was going to be someone who hadn't tasted that success for 15 years or 17. I think Carolina was the closest at 17 seasons or something like that. So yeah, it was definitely good to see a new team lift that cup. Um, Obviously, Vegas have only had to wait for 7 years, but it is their first. And yeah, look, what they built and how they got there was absolutely phenomenal. The advantage that they got when they entered the league in getting teams to pay them to not take certain superstar like star players it definitely worked out in their favor, and it bit Florida in the ass when the player that they handed over so that they wouldn't take a certain player is the one who wins the Conn Smythe against them. So,
mm,
um, yeah, look, well played, Vegas. You didn't break any rules, even though I know a lot of people argue with what they did and don't like what they did overall and how they built their team. But hey, you didn't break any rules, and it won you a Stanley Cup. So credit where credit's due. You played absolutely phenomenal. Um, and yeah, just because you got the team the way you did, and it was a questionable way, you still need to earn it. You still need to make sure those players are putting in that effort, and still a tough ask to win a Stanley Cup, no matter how it came about. So yeah, nothing
yeah.
but credit to the
I
Vegas
think it's
Golden
more
Knights.
issue with the rules and not Vegas itself. But that's another video, another time, another date. But in the end, I
Oh,
got nothing else to say on this part. Well done. Sad didn't go to Game
100%.
7. It was closer. But it is what it is. Hopefully next year it is goes to Game 7. But if you got nothing else,
Nah, just quick shout out to uh a sub of our show, Vegas Renee. Congratulations on the Stanley Cup win. Hope you're enjoying celebrating in Vegas. And yeah, thanks for supporting our channel. Just thought I'd put that in there.
alrighty.
But yeah, other than that, that's all from me.
Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below on what you thought of this series. You're happy or sad the way it turned out. You're happy or sad on Master Show getting the Conn Smythe. Should have gone to someone else. And yeah, just let us know what you think. And I guess until the next video, we'll catch you later, guys.
Okay, guys.